What I'm going to talk about is a musical activity that you can do with very young children. And if you were to give a large group of children a lot of musical instruments, the first instinct is to pick it up and start rattling it, and there's no real control with that. And it's very good for them to understand what an instrument does, how it can be played and what kind of noise it makes. But a lot of music is about control and being able to make a sound that is reasoned and not just a cacophony, no matter how enjoyable that might be. So, what I'm going to show you is something that you could try yourselves, and I think that you'll feel a lot better about your own drawing once you've had a little look at the pictures here. What I've done is, instead of using musical instruments, we're using hands and so like our lips and parts of our body to make noises in a controlled way. And here I've divided the paper up into 9 squares, and in each one there's a different sound associated with that. Well, in this top square it actually means to clap your hands. And the idea being that if you have a child or many children together, that is something that when you ask them to stop, it doesn't particularly matter that there isn't a tambourine rolling down the middle of the hall or in the room, or 3 instruments going at once and you're having to shout above it. It's quite easy to talk above hands being clapped. This next square has got a pair of lips drawn on it with underneath, and that basically is something, you've got something that can be quite loud to something that can be quite quiet. The next one is stamping feet. This one is with mouth open and an R sound. Now I think you'll feel much better about your own drawing when you see these pictures close up. This is about finger clicking. Now with the very little ones, it's always quite funny to try and get the little ones to actually do finger clicking, mostly because tongues will be involved. It's a bit like when you ask a very young child to go cross-eyed, there's a lot more facial expression than eye movement. This one is rubbing your hands together. Now what I want you to understand is that when you have a musical activity, you should have sanctions where it's not just escalating noise, because once 2 or 3 children are playing loud, then more can join in and it becomes so loud that you have to shout, and that is about losing control, because you have to do something that seems to be quite aggressive. So, rubbing hands together. This one is patting your hands on your knees. This one is a smile. And again, this is your sanction. You should have, in an activity like this, something that reduces everything to silence, because then you can build on it. Okay? And this last one is, I suppose, the ultimate sanction, which is you're going shh, like that. So, what you do is you have this as a score almost, and what you do is you point to something and then that noise will arise. You point to something else and again the noise will come out. You point to something else and you'll hear the sound of stamping, and something else. Now what I don't suggest that you do is this, that you go almost as if it's a complete grid. And what you should do is, you should be able to go from side to side and place to place. Now the number of times I've done this with children, and I've said you're not to do in straight lines, you have to do it like this, because we want to mix it up and make it more fun. And even if you've demonstrated that you've gone in a random pattern, children still do tend to go like this from one side to the other. But that's perfectly fine. So, you have this square and you would actually be the conductor, and again you would let the children have a turn at doing the conducting. They quite like this because then there's a sense of I'll only ask those ones who are sitting still and clear and properly and sort of like been making clean sounds, and again it's about a privilege, and you give them a pen or a stick and you show them that they can do this, and again it gives them control over adults if you join in with them. And then this would be replaced by, I wouldn't suggest having 9 instruments. I would certainly say 3 or 4, or different ways of playing, or have a drum with like a beater or a stick, or just with the hands. And it's about exploration of sounds, and it's about control of playing music. It's about control of yourself as well. That if you're expecting everyone to be quiet, you've entered into this idea that someone's in control and you have to not exactly obey, but you have to follow a set series of rules. And this covers quite a lot within Eyfs.